Office of Integrative Medicine and Health. Welcome to A Mindfulness Experience. Happy Friday, everybody. AIM is a nonprofit organization with the mission to provide vulnerable and low-income communities with access to whole person health and wellness. GW offers professional development, education, community outreach, and other events to improve health and wellness. Today's facilitators are integrative nurse practitioner Kimberly Cabe and acupuncturist and traditional Chinese medicine practitioner Angela Gabriel. Kimberly will give us a wellness talk focusing on cytokines, and she and Dr. Kogan will answer your COVID-19 questions. And Angela will discuss how to support your immune system from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective.
And Angela's going to also give a little bit of a mindfulness practice.
Yes, of course. So I will turn things over to Kimberly.
Thanks, Janet. Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm super excited. I apologize for being in my bedroom. The rest of my house is being overrun by homeschooled children, and there's nothing I can do about that. So cytokines. Anytime a virus enters our body, the cells that are being attacked by a virus or that recognize a virus produce chemical messengers called cytokines. Cytokines are the proteins or hormones that make us feel absolutely awful in the beginning of a virus. Our body can make pro-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory cytokines, and robustly dealing with a virus and recovering well from a virus depends on that harmony of pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory cytokines. But many of the symptoms that we experience during the early stages of a virus, like fatigue, malaise, headache, joint pain, muscle pain, etc., the misery, the awfulness, come from pro-inflammatory cytokines. Cytokines are crucial in an appropriate immune response, and they're crucial for recovering from the virus. So a robust cytokine response is normal, especially in the early part of a virus. It's expected, it's helpful, although it feels terrible. But later in a virus, if cytokine production does not fall, or it continues to rise, or it becomes disorganized and anti-inflammatory cytokines don't kick in, that's when you can see severe illness, prolonged illness, patients with organ damage, lung damage, heart damage. So anytime you think of COVID-19, what you're really worried about is being in the statistics of patients who don't get better, or who stay sick for a long time, or who have permanent lung damage or heart damage. We've all heard those horror stories. That phenomenon has been called Cytokine Storm since back with the bird flu in 2003. I think that's the first time we heard it in the media. Cytokine storm isn't really well defined, but what it really means is that cytokine levels have stayed high long into the viral illness, far beyond when it would be expected and when it would be normal. So medications have been trialed to temper the cytokine response, prevent the cytokine storm or reverse the cytokine storm. They're not working very well because pharmaceuticals can typically only target one or two cytokines at a time, or they suppress cytokines far too heavily, like high-dose steroids. High-dose steroids do suppress cytokines very effectively, but we need cytokines to respond robustly and to recover from a virus. So if pharmaceuticals can't do it, could we turn to the herbal world? And the answer to that is almost always yes. There are many herbs that support the pro-inflammatory, anti-inflammatory cytokine harmony within the body. The herbs can help mitigate some of the awful symptoms at the beginning. Not going to get rid of them because we need cytokines to help us recover, but it can make the symptoms less severe. More importantly, they can prevent prolonged illness, severe illness, or organ damage, which is definitely what we want to have happen. As with any herbs, you should always ask your personal healthcare provider if an herb is safe for you, particularly if you have pre-existing conditions or you take prescription medications. But I have 3 favorite herbs that I use for COVID-19, and when they're used early in the illness, they do help mitigate some of those awful symptoms in the beginning, but they most definitely decrease the duration of the illness, and help prevent severe illness and organ damage. So, and I'm going to send Janet a handout that has some of this information and then has the herbs and the dosing so that you don't have to try to take notes or spell them correctly. So the first herb is I'm sorry, was there a question? Heard somebody unmute there. Mike. So the first herb is Salvia Miltariza, or Danshin. Danshin is a cytokine adaptogen, which means that it balances the harmony of pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory cytokines in the body. It also helps the cells adapt to the messages coming from cytokines. It protects the spleen, lymph, and lungs from damage related to the virus. It's available as a tincture or a dried powder, and I'll include the dosing for that on the handout. Salvia Miltariza is most easily taken in a tincture, which can be mixed in something. It does not taste great, or you can make a tea with it and sweeten it with honey. The second is Chinese skullcap. Chinese skullcap is also a cytokine adaptogen. It also protects organs, but even more importantly, it is specifically antiviral for the group of viruses that include COVID-19. So not only are you sort of indirectly affecting the virus from a cytokine perspective, but you're also directly attacking the virus because Chinese skullcap is antiviral. It's also available in a tincture or in a powder form. And then the third is Cordyceps. And I think that Dr. Kogan may have touched on Cordyceps when he talked about medicinal mushrooms in an earlier lecture. But Cordyceps is also a cytokine adaptogen, so it balances pro and anti-inflammatory cytokines. It prevents cytokine storm. It also protects the cilia in the body, which are the tiny hairs in the respiratory tract, from viral damage. Cordyceps also prevents an autoimmune response. Anytime the body is undergoing a strong immune reaction, some individuals are prone to autoimmunity at that time, and Cordyceps helps to prevent autoimmunity. Cordyceps also protects the lungs, the lymph, and the spleen, and it is available in tincture or in capsule for those of you that don't enjoy the taste of herbal tinctures. And that's it. That's cytokines and herbs that affect them.
Right, so let's run the questions, and I have just a couple of really brief things. First is, you probably all heard, at least, well, not everybody in DC, but those of us who are in DC, there's a new mandate. So all the caregivers and all the healthcare providers must start wearing face shields as of last Friday. That's a state, well, District of Columbia mandate. So we've already adapted to it. And, you know, I think it's in line with what we spoke about, I think 2 weeks ago, I believe, when I mentioned there was a new study came out that there is actually indeed transition through the eyes. And that's what the face shield's supposed to decrease risk of. My take on this is the way I would say that if you have large eyeglasses, you're probably okay. I can show you what I started using because I don't actually own a face shield, but I got this kind of goggles that look like ski goggles. Oh, sorry. Can't really see that, right? So, I mean, they look like this. So they're just a regular construction goggles. So that could also work. Anything that at least partially shields off the eyes would give you some protection if you decide to wear it. I think for now, the recommendation is only for healthcare providers who are exposed to a variety of different patients throughout the day. The second one is a little bit more interesting. So apparently there is a new study saying that they actually figured out that indeed loss of smell and taste is a hallmark of this virus. Prior coronaviruses have not known to do that. We don't understand completely why, but it basically appears that it's related to the ACE2 receptor protein. The expression is quite heavy in the, I'm just going to read this, it's easier this way. So our findings indicate that the novel coronavirus changes the sense of smell in patients, not by directly infecting neurons, but by affecting the function of supporting cells through the ACE2 inhibitors. So this is a kind of a one recent tidbit of information we've learned is that it's not direct neurologic effect. And this is maybe why, at least until now, everybody who've had the sense of smell and taste affected, most people saying that it returns after a while. So,
Dr. Kogan,
with that,
just to mention that Salvia Miltariza affects ACE2 receptors and protects damage from that impact of coronaviruses and COVID-19.
Kimberly, and that's typically available just in the same way with the herbs, with the tinctures and powders?
Yes, tincture is the easiest. You can also, I've made a tea with powder, but tincture is the easiest. When
you have a second, if you don't mind, type the names in the chat so that everybody can see them. All right, so let's do a couple of minutes of questions. We're doing great on time. So Miriam asking, the spreader of Qi in chief has, okay, all right. The spreader in chief has pre-qualifying conditions for COVID. Does he really have tested positive? Well, I can only tell you what we all read, right? So he tweeted this morning that he and Melania tested positive. And apparently there is a report that they both have mild symptoms. So it's not just asymptomatic. So do you take, Curry is asking, do you take them as a precaution or when if you get COVID? So Kimberly, I think that's true.
Right, so Don Shen should be taken every hour as soon as symptoms start, and you should take it every hour until symptoms begin to improve. So the dose on that tincture is 1 teaspoon every hour, up to 10 times a day until symptoms improve. Chinese skullcap and cordyceps can be taken as prevention a couple times a day, but should be taken 3 times a day once symptoms have begun. So, and this will be in the handout, but Chinese skullcap would be a half a teaspoon 3 times a day in the tincture, and cordyceps would be a teaspoon 3 times a day in tincture dose, which is a lot of tincture, but cordyceps is really more of a medical food than it is a medicinal herb.
All right, I think we're doing well on questions. We can probably transition to Angela soon. Salome, I think Kimberly answered your question in terms of the timing. It's going to read out.
Yeah, she did answer it, so thank you.
Sure. Benita, I'm not exactly sure what study you're referring. I've never heard of it. If you want, what you can do, if you have a link to the study, put it in the chat. Let me take a quick peek. But why would oral swab test cause craniosacral fluid leak, a CSF fluid leak, is beyond my understanding. I can't imagine why would that be the case. The leaks typically, CSF leaks occur after the tap, after lumbar puncture sometimes, but it's from oral swab. I don't, there's something unusual about this, so I can take a look and see if I can answer that. Okay, where I can find the fluid quad flu shot? It should be in every CVS, no? Many places. Oh yeah, places are out. I've heard of that. So Judy, just wait, they'll restock. It's not that it's not available. It's available and supposed to be in every pharmacy. They just ran out. So the importance of the question, then thank you, Judy, for bringing this up. Fluad quad single dose reconstitution vaccine is a high dose for patients over 65. That's the one you want to ask. Make sure when you're asking that you ask for a single vial so you don't get multi-vial that contains thimerosal. And it's both vaccines, are all the vaccines covered by Medicare. And there are long lines.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, if you run into this, then what we will do is send me a message. I'll put an order and we'll figure out how to get you to GW campus if there's no other. But it may be easier for you to stay in a line because I'm not sure it's going to be way faster through on campus, but we could do that. That could be a backup. Is there any place where you know they have, oh, okay. Kimberly, do you want to respond to where you get the herbs?
Really, you can get them anywhere, anywhere that you like to buy your herbs. They're very readily available. I mean, Walgreens carries Cordyceps. They are not difficult to get. Your local health food store, even Amazon. Rose Mountain Herbs is one that I use online. They're not hard to find. They're very cheap.
I love the crowdsourcing. Thank you, Anne, for posting the location where it is available. Judy, look at the chat. It's in CVS in Arlington. Maybe worth driving there. Oh yeah, Costco. Great. Those of you who are members, and I bet that the Costco does not have lines. It's just because they have a large capacity.
The problem that I have is that many stores say that they don't have them and they're waiting for another week, et cetera, et cetera. So
Well,
I tried like 6 stores this morning.
Don't freak out over it. Remember, today is only October 2nd. Those of you who've been on the prior calls, remember I mentioned don't rush until like even second week of October. We don't have a flu yet. And I actually personally, I haven't gotten it yet. I'm getting it next Tuesday. So just chill out. Nothing's gonna happen over 1 week. And I'm sure that every CVS eventually will get it. Okay. All right. I think we're right on time. Everybody else, let's pause here and let's give Angela a floor. And when she finishes, if we still have time, we'll do whatever the questions that resurface.
Thanks. Can you hear me? Excellent. I'm really excited to present and talk about Chinese medicine here. Thank you so much, Janet, Misha, and everybody who works on this wonderful podcast for inviting me. I haven't been actually participating, but I have listened to many of them in recordings and posted on GWCM websites and other websites. Okay, so how much time do I have? About maybe 15 minutes, right?
You have at least 20 minutes and more like 25 up to 30.
Okay. Yeah, okay, great. So I actually was kind of framing this little presentation, not just like how we can use Chinese medicine to strengthen our immune system, but even like a little bit wider, what Chinese medicine can teach us today, which is going to be about immune system anyhow. Is that okay? Am I first presenter on Chinese medicine, this podcast? Yep. Okay, so more so. So just a brief kind of intro before I will talk about a few practical things and including a little practice. So what is going on right now with Chinese medicine during COVID? So as like a historical perspective, Chinese medicine has a really long history of dealing with epidemics and infectious diseases. And because its medical records have been really good, we know that there have been like 500 epidemics recorded that happened from BC to 1950s. And, apparently long time ago, Chinese did not about germs, but they knew even like 1,000 years ago about transmission. And they called pathogens different names like toxic heat, pestilence, and some similar terms. And they used all modalities, herbs, of course, in the first place, but also Qigong, diet, lifestyle changes, acupuncture to deal with this like big medical events in the history. And also it's kind of curious to remember that Chinese actually invented vaccination, first recorded practice of variolation during smallpox outbreaks was recorded in China. So with all this very, big, large experience, Chinese medicine today is used to support and reinforce Western medicine treatments. So kind of like in a real, true integrative approach. So there's always a choice. Like Chinese today, they can choose just Western medicine, or they can choose Western medicine reinforced with Chinese medicine. Probably like somewhere in the rural areas, people still use only Chinese medicine, but it's very not common, not very likely. So I actually I will not talk in depth about any specific treatments for COVID. I just want to give you an idea what's the approach. But just to mention this maybe that, so within this integrated approach with Western medicine, right now 3 herbal remedies have been approved to be used together with conventional treatment for COVID-19. And those are oral, and also they use a lot of these micro injections, like a muscular or subcutaneous of herbal solutions. Something we're not going to use, something not available here, of course. And there are also about 150 clinical trials are now registered to study the effects of the impact of Chinese medicine on treatments for COVID. Okay, so closer to Chinese medicine. So if we want to understand how we can use Chinese medicine vast knowledge to improve our health and specifically to support our immune system, let's talk a little bit about basic ideas of Chinese medicine. So I'm gonna just really try to explain it in very, very small, simple terms, short, simple terms. So life is a movement of forces in Chinese medicine. It's recognized like that, just from looking in the nature and understanding nature. It's yin and yang, qi and blood, 5 elements, etc. So health is a balance and unobstructed free flow. So balance of those forces and free flow, unobstructed, unimpeded by anything. So illness happens when these forces get out of balance and flow becomes obstructed. So which can be caused by exterior reasons like pathogens, like the one we're talking about, the virus, or other environmental factors, maybe like weather, maybe whatever not, and also interior causes, emotions, stress, or maybe genetic things. So when Chinese medicine deals with infectious disease, like with some sort of epidemic, or just maybe just seasonal flu or something like that, it looks at the problem and it sees 3 parts. One is the pathogen itself. So it should be removed, as well as toxins, which are produced during the infection when possible. So if we deal with with bacterial infection, we could use antibiotics or specific herbs and try to remove pathogens. But with virus, it's pretty much impossible. So then the second part is we look at the host, we look at the body. So this is general health, this is mood, and this is immune system, and this is lifestyle. And the third part is environment. So this is our living conditions. This is how to stop pathogen from spreading and this kind of things. So as I said, viruses are difficult to eliminate in the body. So we have to just kind of wait till our body gets healed and infection stops. So because of that, the host and environment are the 2 main approaches here. So in host, as we go to host and general health, so now we can think about immune system. So there's no such a thing as immune system in Chinese medicine because they did not split. Anatomy, physiology was very different and still is, but there are definitely functions in the body that are equal to immune system, like parts of Qi, which job is to protect the body, and some other things which I'm gonna get to quickly too. So the idea is here how we can help our immune system. So change of seasons in Chinese medicine is reflected in human physiology, because which is part of nature. Right now it's a fall, time of metal, and lungs and large intestine as organs. So energy of the fall is gathering of nourishment for winter. So which means slowing down, stilling mind, conserving energy, using lungs and breath while still maintaining the free flow and eliminating impurities through large intestine. So lung qi is almost equivalent basically to immune system, not completely, but a big part of it. So lung qi is sometimes called protective qi. In the fall, we need to focus on self-care, probably more than ever, in order to prevent winter ailments. Like in summer and winter, we can like frolic around, enjoy, you know, lots of activities. The fall is when the slowing down happens and we're just getting ready. So how we can get ready? So because we're talking about lungs, so this is breathing, and breathing is of course the most important. Natural belly breathing is the most important to nourish the lungs, to keep the lungs strong. So inhaling, nourishing oxygen and energy of the air, energy of the universe, and exhaling, letting go of tension, physical tension, emotional tension, mental, spiritual, all of it. So next way to support the immune system is through food, which is paramount, of course, in Chinese medicine. Think of fall foods, root vegetables, cooked, warm food, which is much easier to digest. Less raw salads. So like in winter, we can afford, you know, eat lunch just like a salad itself. So probably not something you want to do in the fall. Maybe you could supplement your soup with a little bit of salad, but don't rely on raw vegetables food as much. No icy drinks. It's a big topic in Chinese medicine. Probably never, but especially in the fall, in the winter, because it just weakens digestive system. So instead, sipping warm herbal teas or just warm water throughout the day, especially around meal times. So for some people, it's necessary to include some small amounts of animal protein, especially in winter and fall. So best is a bone broth, of course. Everybody kind of knows a lot about this, so I'm not gonna go into details. So that's something that's just cooked a long time with aromatics. So what's important also, using warming herbs and spices when you cook and make tea, like ginger, turmeric, honey, cinnamon, and also using fall fruit, apples, pears, things like that. So just generally think of something like butternut squash risotto or like a hearty soup, an apple pie, this kind of foods that really support your lung qi in the fall. Sleep. So I was going to read something from a very ancient Chinese text, but I don't want to really use too much time. So anyway, it says, it's a really beautiful passage, maybe I can send it to Janet. It says, be as a rule in the fall. So in summer, we could afford kind of running a little bit longer during the day, do more late stuff, but in the fall, we want to go to bed earlier and wake up earlier. So that's a routine for fall. So then next thing, we can nourish our immune system with stilling our mind. With all this idea of slowing down in the fall, it's really important to use meditation, contemplation, walking, like just staring into something in nature, anything that works for you to still your mind. So kind of like a weird thing maybe for some people, but Chinese would take special care to protect themselves from wind, from exposure to wind, like just having appropriate clothes, not spending too much in the wind. Exercise. So there's a change. So we need exercise, of course, to maintain this free flow of qi fluids in the body, blood. But maybe we can adjust the type of exercise that we do to do it longer, maybe, but less rigorous. So a little bit less sweating, like more moderate. And here, of course, we can, do more Qigong, Tai Chi, things like that. So, and last thing, maybe I want to mention herbs. And thank you, Kimberly, who mentioned some of the herbs that you can take when we get sick or even preventatively. So Chinese use a lot of herbs. It's a huge topic. I just want to mention that I also agree with Kimberly. We need to consult with practitioners in order to get access to quality herbs and to know how to take them. And if I were to mention just maybe one formula that's kind of considered to be very safe and over the counter and kids could take it, I would mention something that's called Yuping Fan Sang. And it's translated as jade screen. It's taken every day as a prevention. It just builds up lung qi. And it consists only of 3 herbs: Huan Qi astragalus, Baiju atractyloides, and Fang Fang psyllar root. It's a very safe formula. I would not use the one that was produced in China, but we have a lot of American companies that ensure the good quality of herbal sources. Okay, I kind of feel like I raced through all this stuff, but I really wanted to leave time for questions and a little practice. Am I doing okay?
Yeah, you're doing great. So far, I don't see any clear questions, so I would say let's just move to practice. And then if the questions come up after, that's fine.
Okay. So questions and the practice?
No, let's do the practice.
Let's
and
do
then
the
we'll
practice.
questions.
Let's do the practice, okay. So a practice will be a very simple Qigong breathing exercise. So just a couple of words about Qigong. There are active forms of Qigong, which involve movement. And this is, everybody knows, Tai Chi, that actually kind of belongs under umbrella of Qigong. Qigong is a practicing energy. That's a very simple translation. Qi works, Qi practice. There are other active forms that you can find on YouTube and learn and follow or learn with a teacher, like 8 bracades, 5 animals, Qigong, some seasonal forms. But also Qigong has been always used as a self-care practice. And that's, I think, related more to passive forms of Qigong, which includes breathing, sound, and visualizations. So it's very close to meditation, or the guided meditation, pranayama. I really encourage you to just explore different types of Qigong, and there are a lot of great tutorials on YouTube in these times. And what I want to suggest is to do together breathing for the fall, the breathing that kind of works on this idea of taking in nourishment and letting go all the unnecessary stuff, impurities, toxins, things that we don't need, and we can take them on all 4 levels: physical, emotional, spiritual, what was the 4th? Physical, emotional, whatever.
Mental,
Right, mental thoughts. Physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So use all of them, or whichever feels appropriate right now. So I'm going to just read the instructions and we're going to do it together. You can just make sure you sit comfortably. It could be done actually in standing or laying down position, doesn't matter. I guess we're all more or less sitting right now. So let's make sure we're just relaxed. So we're going to inhale through the center of the soles of our feet. The first kidney point is located there, the Kidney Meridian, and this is our point of connection with Earth. And we're going to inhale. We're going to do 2 cycles, with slight different intention. So inhale through the feet, thinking about inhaling nourishment from the earth. And here you can think of all types of nourishment, you know. Again, all these 4 levels: physical, mental, emotional, and then, or just not even thinking about any of this, just thinking about earth, whatever it means to your body right now, to the vibrations of your body. Then we're gonna kind of take it in and using our bellies, so just making sure that our breath is natural, but also maybe a little deeper and slower, more aware. And then we're gonna exhale through the top of the head. So this is another very important acupuncture point is there, do 20 on the governing meridian. And so it's like the very top of the head that's used in Latin, Tai Chi, and Qigong. So we're gonna just imagine like an opening, and our breath is is exhaling through our head, and we're letting go all the tensions and worries. And then when we finish the exhalation, we're going to inhale again through the top of the head. We're going to take in nourishment of the heavens, pure energy of air, of sun, anything else that comes to your mind. So just being open and taking that in, clear energy, and drawing it into the body through the belly, and exhaling, like imagining again opening the point on your feet, on your soles of the feet, and letting out all the things that we don't need in our body anymore, all the toxins, impurities, all stubborn thoughts, fears, anxieties of all kinds that we don't need, just letting them out and allowing Earth to take them, because Earth can basically accept everything and transform. So it's not really wasted, it just goes into a cycle of energy. So that's it. And then we can do like that a couple of times. Just again, inhale through the feet, exhale through the top of the head, inhale through the top of the head, and exhale through the feet. So let's do it together. So inhale through the scaling through the top of the head, and then reverse. Let's do just several of those cycles. On your own. And now we can complete next cycle. When we exhale through the feet. And open your eyes, look around, stretch. Sense your arms and feet, legs, hands and feet. If you want to take a deeper breath or a yawn or swallow, that's a really great sign that we did a good job with this practice and activated parasympathetic nervous system as well. I definitely need a sip of water after all this talking. Okay.
Thank you, Angela. Wonderful practice. Very in line with a recent practice that James did, our Qigong practice. It's kind of nice that we're having a little bit of continuity. So Donna is asking, is there a name for this breath practice?
No, there is no name. Actually, it's just something I could have learned sometime or could have invented, but that's something that I would do. This type of things I just do during my acupuncture sessions. But I can type a couple of good practices that you can look up. One of them is actually I want to really learn is called 6 Healing Sounds. It's it's kind of combination of passive and active Qigong. It's called Liu Zi Jue. And this is Qigong when they actually make sounds. Six different
Do you mind
sounds.
Typing that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm going to type it now.
And also someone asked about the, Salome asked if you can put the herbs.
The formula name, yeah. I'm doing it right now.
And Barb mentioned that she's teaching free Qigong classes on Zoom, and looks like Barb is asking that people email her, and her email address is, I'm going to copy paste it again just to make sure, because there's 2 addresses and I want to make sure everybody get the right address. Barb, do you want to unmute yourself and just say a word or 2 about your practice?
Hi. Yes, since COVID started, I was giving a private lesson and decided to open it up to friends and acquaintances, and it's just kind of blossomed into a nice little community. We meet Thursdays at 10 o'clock Eastern time, and I am certified through Lee Holden, and we usually do some breath work, some warm-ups, some stretches, and then flows, and then usually with a meditation. And it's about an hour long, and if you email me, I'll send you my website and you can look up a little bit more about me, but I'd love to have you there. We're developing a nice little community, and I would love for anybody who'd like to join to join. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And then Dr. Frame, Lee put linked for, if everybody can see this, it's a mindfulness center, and they have all kinds of classes, and there's a lot of different Qigong classes. And I believe James, who presented, teaches there too. I don't know if he teaches there yoga and Tai Chi, but definitely he teaches there Tai Chi, I know that.
Hey, Misha, could you remind folks on how they can download a copy of the chat to their computer?
Sure. So if everybody opened the chat box, you're going to see lots of stuff over there. If you look at the bottom where you respond to the chat, you're going to see this blue button that says everyone. On the right of that button, you're going to see a little kind of a square with the 3 dots in the middle of it. If you left click mouse on it, it's going to open up additional drop menu. And on top of that drop menu, there's going to be Save Chat. So wait until we're almost done, click that, and it's going to form the file on your computer with the folder with the data of today's meeting. And inside of it, you're going to have a file with all the links and everything. That's a great little feature.
Now we have a question about cloves. Do you recommend it?
I'm sorry, say again?
Cloves.
That's for Angela and Kimberly, I believe.
Yes.
Cloves like a spice?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say not very specifically. Cloves is one of the Chinese herbs. It's not the most common, but as a spice, it is just perfect. That's why we actually do use all these things like cinnamon and cloves. All of them are great for the fall. Warming, not super spicy, not like chilies, because those have too much of they're too moving. A little bit is okay, and especially for people who are, you use them the whole life, different cuisines and etc. But if it's something that you want to add to your diet, so that would be perfect. Cloves, cardamom, cinnamon, honey, turmeric, all this warming, slightly mildly moving spices.
So that tells me that one of the things I need to do is include a couple of recipes in the share folder that will have all the handouts. One recipe will be for something called a turmeric tonic, and the other recipe will be for golden milk, because all the spices that Angela is talking about are things that you can put, you can make yourself in the golden milk paste.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can, and then you can put the paste in water or milk or your favorite nut milk. I personally love oat milk, gluten-free, of course. And and the tonic is something that you can actually put in apple juice of all things, and it's delicious.
So
I can add also here. It's not a recipe, but just an idea. So in Chinese medicine, for some reason, pears are considered to be the best, one of the best nourishing foods for lungs. So if you could make, so like how we make applesauce or baked apples, if you can make apples together with pears and use some of the spices, not just cinnamon, but even more different spices, that would be really good for lungs.
That sounds delicious. Kimberly, what was the name of the online provider for herbs that you mentioned? I think you said Rose something.
Rose Mountain Herbs.
So it was Rose Mountain Herbs.
Kimberly, can you type it into the chat one more time? I think you already did, but Dwight, do you want to walk us through saving chat in a PC? Apparently, we are Mac people, so we don't know how that's done on PC. And thanks for that, by the way.
Actually, I can't remember how to do it at the moment, but let me check it out and I'll get back to you. Sorry about that.
That's great. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
There was another question. So Angela, JD is asking, what is the role of meridians? What do they carry apart from energy hormones? Question mark. Well, they don't carry hormones that I know, even though I'm not a child.
Well, because they carry everything. They carry fluids. Qi carries everything. Qi moves.
No, but not in the meridian itself, so to speak. Hormones not being carried in the meridian; they're just stimulated. The hormonal process of biological biochemical.
I can explain it because Chinese medicine is extremely naturalistic. So the way I usually explain it, so we have water in nature. Water is everywhere. Even in the dry desert, there's some water. So, but there are rivers. So basically meridians are just pathways where energy, water flows directionally, very obviously directionally. And it just has a very obvious flow. It's stronger and more directional. So so if there's any impediment in the river flow, it affects health of that particular environment more than just, let's say, if there's a log that blocks the water flow in the river, and you compare it to a log that is just next to the river, right? We have way more, troubles for the flow of the river because of that log in the river. So that's the one we want to remove. And in that way, we're going to affect the health of the whole environment. So that's basically what needles do, with the meridians. So when we treat the meridian, it's just the easiest way to affect the health of Qi, or like a water in the environment. So in that sense, somehow it affects flow of everything.
So if the meridian that is blocked somehow linked to the hormonal production in a given organ, then those hormones may be negatively affected.
Yeah. And the first of all, like in Chinese medicine, we would think about liver function, liver and kidneys maybe.
All right, so Dwight is ready to explain to those of you who have PC how to save the chat.
Hello, everybody. In the chat area where you see all the discussions are going on, like the thank you very much, and Angela, you can see at the top where it says raise hand, yes, no, go slower, go faster, and more, which was mentioned earlier. On the Windows, if you want to save the chat, under the more there is not where it's located. It's down at the bottom of the chat where it says to, where it's an empty chat discussion, where mine currently says to everyone. And then on the right of that, there's a ... And in there, the only option is to save the chat. So
that sounds very similar to Mac.
Is that the same way? I'm sorry, because when you said ... earlier, I saw the one on the top and I didn't see the little one at the bottom. Much more defined. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's great. So I think with that, unless there's a last moment question, we wish everybody safe and paced weekend. Don't read news too much, just some, because you can imagine that there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. So we'll see you all next Friday. Stay safe, stay warm, grab some sunshine. And we call this time of nature in Russia grandmother's summer, because this is the time when it's still warm and it's sunny. I don't know why it's called grandmother, not grandfather. I don't know. But, so enjoy the last beautiful days of this weather and the turning leaves and the beauty of the fall. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Kimberly and Angela. And, of course, our ever-present Janet and Dr. Frame. Bye, everybody.
See you Tuesday.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, okay. See you Tuesday. I understand. I got it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. I'm about to end the meeting.
Okay.
Keep your mind still.
Save the chat if you want to, because the moment meeting ends, you cannot do that. So, thank you again, everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Dr. Kogan. Angela, dear.
Nice to see you, Miriam.
Beautiful. Give my love to the boys, please.
Okay, I will.
Will do. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot. Those of you who are here. Next, on October 24th, if you run or walk, please consider joining us with GW Internal Medicine Department and GW Hospital to do the 5K walk or run to support the Whitman Walker Clinic. It's their annual event. And I have managed to convince my 11-year-old to run with me, and we're also going to have our dogs running. So
yes, the dogs.
we have a family run.